took an excuse for about 1 hour for tea break and seized the opportunity to take a second look at our resolutions. It took us 2 hours. But more than anything else, we are so excited that the hall is full and has been very, very active in the last 2 hours. This is democracy. And I can assure you, the debate behind the scene was very hot. But at the end of the day, we still reach a consensus, and this is democracy. Mr. Chairman will speak to us later, but I just want to apologize that we've kept you, but to also appreciate you that you kept the faith. It shows the amount of determination that we all have as Nigerians to effect necessary legislative and governmental changes. In the next few minutes, Professor Mike Ozekome will come back and go through the resolutions one by one, and we have a duty to say yes or no, as the case may be. Whatever it is, our conviction is that this is democracy at its best. Thank you very much and congratulations.
As my colleague has just told you, we thank you for your patience, but we thought that this summit should conclude on a very positive note. And that was what we were endeavoring to ensure during the long break that we had. And so I believe that when Professor Ozekome comes and reads out the resolutions, because we've had the task of virtually redrafting the resolutions in order to ensure that, as I said, we end on a positive note. And in the efforts to produce the new draft, we saw to it that the major sections of this summit represented, and that, as my colleague has told you, we had a robust discussion. But happily, after the robust discussion, we were able to agree a version of the resolutions that you'll be hearing in the next few minutes. So I'd like to pause at this moment and wait for Professor Michael Ozekome to come. Again, I would like to thank you for your patience. And as I said earlier, during the longish break, a couple of us, representative of the wide range of groups and zones here, decided to work on the resolution. And we, in effect, rewrote the resolution. And what I would now say is that the text will be read to you. I'm afraid that because the pages are still being worked upon in terms of typing and fairing, it may not be possible to have the text on the screen. But professor who will read the text will read slowly, and I would suggest that you listen attentively so that at the end of every paragraph, I would ask you to say yes or no. And in that way, I hope that in no too long a time, the other pages of the resolution will come. So I now would like to invite the professor to read the text.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Professor Maxwell M. Hidado, a senior advocate of Nigeria and an officer of the Order of the Niger. It is my singular honor and privilege, as directed by the chairman, His Excellency Chief Emeka Anyaoku, GCON, CFR. And without much ado, here is the Patriots National Summit on the future of Nigeria's constitutional democracy, our proposed resolutions, dated 17th of July in the year of our Lord 2025. Now, page 1 of the resolutions. The heading once more is resolutions, so that we don't have any doubt. Resolutions at the end of the National Summit on the future of Nigeria's constitutional democracy, held from the 16th to the 17th of July 2025 at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. Introduction. The 2025 National Summit on the future of Nigeria's constitutional democracy was convened by the Patriots, Nigeria's foremost group of elder statesmen and women, intellectuals, and civic leaders, under the distinguished leadership of Chief Emeka Anyaoku, GCON, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, in collaboration with the Nigerian Political Summit Group, NPSG. The summit calls for an immediate constitutional framework that will return Nigeria to a truly federal system of government, where the federating units will enjoy the autonomy as obtained in the First Republic and in other genuine democracies of the world. Right, so point number 1, or the resolution number 1.
Just a minute.
Urgent.
Just a minute. I take it that what he has read has the endorsement of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Resolution number 1. Urgent need for new constitutional order. The summit agreed that the current system of government, we have removed presentation, that the current system of government is too expensive, prone to abuse, and a hindrance to people's welfare, and a major threat to the future of democracy in Nigeria. Delegates, therefore, recommend that the Constituent Assembly should closely examine the most appropriate system of government for Nigeria. Over to you, sir.
Oh.
2. excuse me, this matter was thoroughly reviewed. It was read here before, and it was reviewed before coming to read. So, let me continue, please. 2.
Wait a minute.
Constituent Assembly.
There's somebody there, too. Could you give a
Come again.
microphone to the gentleman there? Considered by a representative team of people. And it would really help if we do not reopen debate on them. But of course, if there is any particularly important point that someone needs to make, he or she should do so. But as a matter of general approach, I would appeal to you not to dwell on minor points. Yes, the gentleman there raised
Resolution. In order to actualize the above and other reforms agreed to at the summit, the delegates agreed that the President be requested to introduce an executive bill to the National Assembly to empower the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to organize elections into a National Constituent Assembly. This assembly will be made up of delegates elected on non-partisan basis, as well as representatives of special interest groups. The assembly will rewrite a people's democratic constitution that will be subjected to a referendum of the Nigerian people before it is assented to by the President. The Assembly, in formulating the Constitution, would take into full consideration the 1960, 1963, and 1999 Constitutions, the 2014 National Conference recommendations, and others for a return to genuine federalism. Over to you, Chair.
I take it that this is agreeable to everyone. Thank you. Carry on.
Let's await the other resolutions. Because only two that are here with me. Thank you.
That's it.
The resolution number 4 is return to genuine federalism. The summit calls for an immediate constitutional framework that will return Nigeria to a truly federal system of government where the federating units will enjoy their autonomy as obtained in the First Republic and other genuine democracies of the world. Over to you, sir.
I take it this is agreed by all.
Number 5, system of government. The summit agreed that the current system of government is too expensive, prone to abuse, and a hindrance to people's welfare as a major threat to the future of democracy in Nigeria. Delegates therefore recommend that the Constituent Assembly should closely examine the most appropriate system of government for Nigeria.
I take it this is agreed by all. Carry on.
6, geographical restructuring. Flowing from the above resolutions, the summit resolved that the present 6 geopolitical zones should be rearranged in such a way as to ensure a truly federal system of government. I should repeat. Okay, let me repeat it for the benefit of the doubt.
Please,
Geographical restructuring.
please repeat that.
I'm reading it again. Flowing from the above resolution, the summit resolved that the present 6 geopolitical zones should be rearranged in such a way as to ensure a truly federal system of government.
Yes. Fearing the copies of what we agreed may have made a mistake in this instance. So I would suggest that what you've just read be put in suspension.
Seventh one becomes the 6th. Devolution of federal powers. The current political reality is that too much power is concentrated at the center. Quite enormous powers are currently concentrated in the presidency. The reduction of the enormity will discourage autocratic tendencies and encourage interinstitutional checks and balances. The patriots, therefore, recommend the devolution of powers from the center to the federating units.
I take it this is agreed by all?
All right, let's await the orders. Thank you. We cancel number 6. Federal legislature is unsustainably expensive for Nigeria to maintain. The delegates to the summit therefore recommend a more appropriate, cost-effective system.
I take it this is agreed?
Eight. All right, let me read it again. A two-chamber,
Yes.
namely a bicameral chamber, a bicameral system of the chamber, for instance, the National Assembly that has the Senate and the House of Representatives is bicameral. That's a two-chamber federal legislature. Is unsustainably expensive for Nigeria to maintain. The delegates to the summit, therefore, recommend a more appropriate, cost-effective system.
Yes, yes. Well, I think that before the gentleman that a few words is missing there. It's the two-chamber federal legislature, as it's being run, those words are missing. So could you put, as it's being run, is unsustainably expensive for Nigeria to maintain. The delegates to the summit therefore recommend a more appropriate, cost-effective system. The, the gentleman, could you, the gentleman in the white hat?
Is that carried? Because there was a mistake. It wasn't stated, as we all agreed here, that enormous powers are currently concentrated in the presidency, but in the center. Is that okay? Let me reread it again. The current political reality is that too much power is concentrated at the center. Quite enormous powers are currently concentrated in the center, not in the presidency. Because federal government center is different from presidency alone. So the reduction of the enormity will discourage autocratic tendencies and encourage inter-institutional checks and balances. The patriots, therefore, recommend the devolution of powers from the center to the federating units.
There's some more.
Number 7. Yes.
No, we've been saying the delegates. Why are we just talking about saying the patriots now?
Saying the delegates?
Yeah.
Okay. Correction taken. It's delegates, therefore recommend. Okay, the patriots, yes. The delegates.
The delegates to the summit.
Sustainably expensive. As it's being run, a 2-chamber federal legislature as is being run.
Yes.
In other words, as it's being presently operated, as is presently being run, is unsustainably expensive for Nigeria to maintain. Yes. The delegates to the summit, therefore, recommend a more appropriate, cost-effective system.
Yes, gentlemen, yes.
The chair,
Can we please
ladies and gentlemen.
Number 8, administration of justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. The centralized court system has impacted the administration of justice so negatively that congestion of court registries with cases has become a problem that may never be solved unless there is a decisive constitutional intervention. Therefore, delegates to the summit recommend that there is the need for each federating unit to have its court hierarchy up to the Court of Appeal, thereby leaving the Federal Supreme Court to deal with heavy constitutional matters, interstate disputes, and disputes between the federal and subnational governments. The delegates to the summit also recommend the creation of special courts to manage special offenses, such as electoral matters, corruption, and terrorism cases, amongst others.
I take it this is endorsed. Carry on.
9, appointment of non-politically partisan Attorney General. The delegates to the summit recommend that the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and that of the Minister of Justice should be separated to enable the appointment of a non-politically partisan Attorney General.
I take it this is agreed.
Thank you. 10, electoral reforms. Fair, free, and credible elections are the true pillars of democracy. The current reality is a democracy that has been taken away from the control of voters. Elections are too costly and prone to corruption. Billions of naira are spent on recruitment of electoral officers, security agencies, and logistics, while the courts have become the real electors of leaders. Among other reforms, the delegates to the summit resolved, therefore, that all elections be conducted in a single day, as this is cheaper, time-saving, and less prone to corruption. Brazil and Ghana are good examples of countries that have adopted single-day elections. The National Assembly should amend the Electoral Act 2022 for bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, and electronic transmission of results, real time, to be made mandatory. Yes, okay. Sorry, lastly, before the chairman calls for your consent or your approval, there was a last sentence that says all elections matters be conducted and completed before swearing in of officials.
I take it that is endorsed. Carry on, Professor Vidal.
This is the end at the moment. We will wait for the next page. General, both at the state and at the federal level, are both attorneys general and commissioners of justice. And they are the only commissioners that are recognized in the Constitution. It's stated in the Constitution. That is number one. Number two, the office of the Attorney General is the office that is in charge of prosecution of offenders. And it is that office too that can issue a nolle prosecutor. In other words, it can say a case be discontinued. And the politicians have been abusing that privilege. If you belong to a ruling party or a friend of the governor and you commit crime or an offense and you are charged to court, the Attorney General will come and enter a nolle prosecutor and you'll be released. So this is causing a lot of mischief. And to cure this mischief, you separate the office of the Attorney General from the office of the Commissioner of Justice or the Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice will be an ordinary appointee of the governor and can advise the governor as the chief legal officer, etc. But the office of the Attorney General should even be on first-line charge, Attorney General, such that the governor can call an Attorney General and ask him to do something that Attorney General will tell him to his face, Your Excellency, I will not do that. So that will bring some bit of independence and impartiality as far as trial of cases are concerned. Thank you.
Missing in the introduction, and I'm going to ask Professor Mike Ozekome, SAN, who's been primarily responsible for...
Gentlemen, what you have just seen now is a clip of what was done by one of the states in the South. I am privileged of God to present our collective position of the 6 states in the South.
I bring you sincere greetings from the people of the South-South geopolitical zone, the lungs of the Nigerian economy, a region bountifully endowed with natural resources, patriotic citizens, and a burning desire for justice, equity, and true federalism. Permit me to begin by expressing, on behalf of the South-South Advocacy and Mobilization Committee of the Patriots, our deep appreciation for this timely summit. This gathering is not only strategic, but to us pivotal at this critical junction in our national history, where sincere dialogue must replace pretense and decisive reform must override political rhetorics. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the South-South Zone did not come to this summit casually. No. Ahead of this gathering, each of the 6 states in the South-South, namely Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Rivers, held far-reaching pre-summit consultations. These consultations were robust, inclusive, and deliberate engagements involving key stakeholders from every strata of society. In attendance were traditional rulers, religious leaders, representatives of state governments and their legislation, elder statesmen, women, the PANDEF, civil society organizations, pressure groups, youth leaders, student unions, and professionals, security agencies, I beg your pardon, members of the press, and persons living with disabilities. At the conclusion of these engagements, a communique was issued on behalf of the entire South-South region that was published in some of the newspapers, national dailies of our country. A unified position of the people of the region, reflecting our collective demands, frustrations, and hopes for a just and workable Nigeria. Permit me, therefore, to highlight the key elements of that position. Number one, the 99 Constitution as amended is fundamentally flawed and unreflective of the aspirations of Nigerians. It lacks legitimacy, and more importantly, it fails the test of justice, equity, and federal balance. We call today for a total overhaul, not cosmetic amendments as you see year in and year out. Together in the South-South, we demand a new constitution that draws inspiration from the tested and more balanced 1960 and 1963 constitutions, which promoted genuine federalism, fiscal autonomy, and regional competitiveness. Number three, revenue allocation must reflect equity. The current model where the federal government controls the lion's share is unacceptable. We propose thus 60% to states, 25% to the federal government, and 15% to the local government. The principle of derivation must be restored to a minimum of 50%. And the continental shelf contiguous to any littoral state must belong to that state for the purpose of derivation. Local government autonomy should be entrenched and direct allocations must be paid to councils without interference. Number 6, the states must be allowed to establish their own police under a framework that guarantees accountability and checks abuse. Thank you. We call for the scrapping of state independent electoral commissions. Elections into local government councils should be conducted by a national local government electoral commission to ensure transparency and accountability. The political parties registration and regulatory commission should be created and empowered to regulate political parties. INEC should be focused solely on conducting elections. Thank you. Number 9, we further recommend that elected officials who defect from the party that brought them to office must vacate their seats. Unless proven that there was crisis in their former party. Number 10, the exclusive legislative list should be reduced. 67 items are too many. True federalism demands decentralization. Issues such as public holidays, police, prisons, public health, pensions, labor, internal waters, fishing, and even the oil and gas should be devolved to the states. Number 12, we call for the Supreme Court and Courts of Appeal to be expanded to 35 and 120 justices respectively to speed up justice delivery. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice should be 2 separate offices. Same for the Accountant General of the Federation and those of the states. Gas flaring must be banned constitutionally. Oil companies must relocate their headquarters to their operational bases in the Niger Delta. Thank you. The federal government must comply with the NDTC Act of 2000 by paying the 50% statutory allocation, including arrears since July 2000. Multinational oil companies must also comply with their statutory obligations. Number 16, the dichotomy between onshore and offshore revenue must be abolished. The distinction is unjust, unconstitutional, and deeply offensive to communities in the South-South region. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, as currently operated, violates Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution. It must be dismantled and replaced with constitutional compliance. Number 18. Section 55 of the 1999 Constitution, which restricts legislative business to 4 languages, must be repealed. The business of the National Assembly should be conducted in English and any other Nigerian language. That is our position from the South-South. Number 19. We demand the creation of 2 new states from the South-South to bring at parity with the North, which currently has 19 states to the south of 17 states. Ladies and gentlemen, lastly, the criteria for creating federal constituencies must be urgently revisited. It is an insult to equity that the entire South has 55 members in the House of Representatives, while Kano State alone has 44. That imbalance is unacceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, the South is not begging for favors. We are demanding what is right, just, and constitutional. We want a Nigeria where no region feels sidelined. A Nigeria where true federalism is not a theory, but an experience lived by all. We, the South Advocacy Mobilization Committee of the Patriots, we stand shoulder to shoulder with all other regions and voices calling for a rebirth of the Nigerian Federation through a people's own constitution. Let it be recorded, sir, that when history summoned courage, the South answered. We spoke up, not in bitterness of any kind, but in truth and hope for a better Nigeria. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Chief Emeka Anyaoku, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Independent Nations, Your Excellencies here present, members of the Patriots, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Let me start by appreciating God Almighty, who made it possible for us to gather here with a view to charting a new course for our nation. Let me also congratulate the Patriots under the leadership of His Excellency Chief Emeka Anyaoku, the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Independent Nations, who is working tirelessly in order to chart a new course for the growth and development of our nation. Professor Anthony Kila, our national coordinator, and Dr. Molkisu Mogoro also deserve commendation. Well, I am the chairperson of the Northwest Patriots Advocacy Group. We have held several meetings and we have had town hall meeting in Kaduna. We have discussed at length on the need for a Nigeria with people's constitution. As it was rightly said here, that most of the constitutions we have had are either gifted by the colonial masters or given by the military administrations we have had in the country. So we feel it is necessary for us to have a new constitution that will address the yearnings and aspirations of all Nigerians, regardless of where they come from or irrespective of the region or geographical background from where they come. As an advocacy group, we have actually discussed, like I said, at length, and we are of the opinion that the 1999 Constitution does not adequately address the concerns and yearnings of Nigerians. The 1999 Constitution, even as amended, faces several criticisms and problems, including its legitimacy, the structure of federalism, and issues related to resource control and citizenship. Many Nigerians believe the Constitution was not truly a product of popular participation, and the content do not adequately reflect the yearnings and aspirations of the diverse people of Nigeria. Of course, a breakdown of the issues perceived as defect in the Constitution is its legitimacy and ownership. People do not believe that the 1999 Constitution being operated as the basis of our democratic governance actually reflects the opinions of majority of Nigerians. And so it lacks legitimacy, and which is a major drawback to the democratic governance we have currently in place. And many Nigerians also feel excluded from the Constitution making process, thereby leading to perception that, of course, they are being sidelined in the governance of the country. And then the lack of the legitimacy of the Constitution impacts on the effectiveness of the Constitution and fosters a sense of alienation among many citizens of Nigeria. The second defect observed in the 1999 Constitution is the issue of federalism and resource control. The constitutional structure of federalism is often criticized for being too centralized, thereby concentrating power and the resources at the federal level. This imbalance undermines the autonomy of states and local government, and in most cases lead to disputes over resource allocation and revenue sharing. The concentration of power also leads to a sense of marginalization among so many ethnic and regional groups. Another problem observed is the issue of citizenship and indigeneity. There is ambiguity surrounding indigenship, and this tends to complicate even humanitarian efforts and create divisions among different communities. Other concerns are the issue of local government autonomy. Even as we speak, we know that even with the pronouncement of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the local governments are still not autonomous. The money being allocated to them, in most cases, do not go directly to them, and that tends to affect their effectiveness in governance. And that is why the situation of insecurity tends to be exacerbated, because the local governments do not do anything virtually. Another issue we observe with the Constitution is that it has failed to effectively provide the instrument that will guarantee the security of lives and properties of Nigerians. As I speak to you, many lives and means of livelihoods are lost because of the failure of the Constitution to guarantee the safety and security of all Nigerians. So what we are demanding is that we should have a Constitution that will address the concern of everyone, guarantee our security, safety, so that every Nigerian will feel at home wherever he comes from, regardless of his ethnic, religious, or whatever background. That is in a nutshell. But I will have to also inform you that we in the Northwest, because of the fact that most of the meetings we had were virtual meetings with poor and erratic network, the kind of mobilization or sensitization we had done is not enough to say that we have actually collated all the opinion of our majority. So I want to say that without fear of contradiction, that I do not have the mandate, because we have not gone round to all the enclaves of the Northwest to collect opinion of the market women, traditional rulers, religious clerics, students and youth groups, women organizations, and so on and so forth. So I will want to urge the patriots to do everything within their reach to ensure that these stakeholders are adequately engaged in the process of charting a new constitution for Nigeria and Nigerians, so that all our yearnings and aspirations can actually be adequately addressed in the People's Constitution. In a nutshell, this is what I have to say as the chairman of Northwest Patriotic Group. Thank you so much for your time.